In the heart of ancient Egypt, mid-300 BC, their history was dominated by the towering figures of two remarkable men, Alexander the Great, whose conquest reshaped the map of the ancient world, and Claudius Ptolemy, the cunning strategist who would build an enduring dynasty in the shadow of his legendary predecessor. Legend has it that across the sea in the kingdom of Macedon, there was a young noblewoman who caught the eye of King Philip II. This noblewoman was said to have had an affair with the king, and from their union, a remarkable man was born. His name was Ptolemy, and he would grow up to become one of the most cunning commanders in the Macedonian army. However, tales of Ptolemy's birth were shrouded in mystery. Some said he was the illegitimate half-brother of Alexander the Great, while others believed it was merely a story fabricated by Ptolemy himself to legitimize his rule. In truth, Ptolemy was the son of a nobleman, born in Macedon in the year 367 BC. He received what was then considered the most advanced of education from the great philosopher Aristotle and forged a close bond with Alexander during their time together. As Alexander's empire stretched across vast lands, his ambitions knew no bounds. Yet it was in Egypt that his journey took an unexpected turn. Here, amid the golden sands and lush banks of the Nile, Alexander's path would cross that of Ptolemy, a brilliant general whose loyalty and ambition matched the young conqueror's own. Together, they would lay the foundation for one of the most storied dynasties in history, the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt. Ptolemy was not only skilled in battle but also adept at navigating the complex politics of the time. With little effort, he managed to conquer Egypt and establish himself as its ruler. But his ambitions didn't stop there. He sought to dominate the other commanders vying for power in the fractured regions of the Macedonian Empire. When Alexander ascended to the throne of Macedon, Ptolemy stood by his side as they embarked on a legendary campaign to conquer the Persian Empire. Together, they journeyed through distant lands, fighting battles and forging alliances. Their adventures eventually led them to Egypt, a land of ancient wonders and untold treasures. And it was here that Ptolemy would make his mark, shaping the destiny of a nation and leaving behind a legacy that would endure for centuries to come. One day, Alexander decided to embark on a journey to a distant oasis. With Ptolemy and other companions, they set out on this epic pilgrimage. The journey was long and arduous. The scorching sun beat down upon them, relentless sandstorms obscured their path, and with the ever-present threat of thirst and exhaustion, they nearly lost their way on the 2,000-mile journey. But after many trials and tribulations, they finally reached the mystical oasis. At the oasis, something extraordinary happened. The people there hailed Alexander as a divine being, proclaiming him to be a son of a god. This grand ceremony made Alexander feel like he had a special destiny. He was crowned pharaoh, a ruler over both man and God. Filled with ambition, Alexander had grand plans to expand his empire. Before leaving Egypt, he ordered the construction of a magnificent city at the mouth of the river. This city would become known as Alexandria, a bustling hub of trade and culture. Alexander took a keen interest in planning the layout of Alexandria. He used crumbs and seeds to mark out the streets, envisioning a city teeming with life. Despite initial concerns about the birds flocking to the area, people believed it was a good omen for the city's future prosperity. With Alexandria underway, Alexander led his army on a conquest of the Persian Empire. Their greatest challenge came at the Battle of Gaugamela, where they faced the full might of the Persian forces. Despite the odds, Alexander emerged victorious, dealing a crushing blow to the Persian Empire. Buoyed by their triumph, Alexander and his army marched triumphantly into Babylon, a city renowned for its wealth and beauty. Their victory marked a turning point in history, solidifying Alexander's legacy as one of the greatest conquerors of all time. Once they reached the Persian heartland, Alexander and his army planned a bold campaign to capture the Persian king, Darius. But their plans were thwarted when Darius was murdered by his own second-in-command, Bessus. Outraged by the dishonorable act, Alexander ordered Ptolemy to track down Bessus and bring him to justice. Ptolemy fulfilled his duty, capturing Bessus and delivering him to Alexander's wrath. With the Persian heartland under his control, Alexander set his sights on conquering the rest of the Persian Empire. The Macedonians marched into modern-day Pakistan, facing fierce resistance from the locals. During a skirmish, Ptolemy was wounded by an arrow, but Alexander's knowledge of native herbs saved his life. Despite their efforts, Alexander's campaigns in Pakistan ultimately yielded no significant gains. The Macedonians retreated to the heartland of their empire in Babylon, where Alexander fell ill and died shortly after arriving. His death sparked a power struggle among his generals, with Ptolemy among the contenders. Perdiccas, the self-proclaimed regent, proposed waiting until Alexander's wife, Roxanne, gave birth before naming a successor. However, Ptolemy opposed this idea, advocating for the division of the empire among the generals. Eventually, Ptolemy secured his desired share of the empire, receiving the prosperous land of Egypt. Establishing himself as a local warlord in Egypt and Syria, Ptolemy solidified his power through alliances with other generals. Meanwhile, tensions between Perdiccas and Ptolemy escalated, fueling further infighting among the generals. As the funeral train carrying Alexander's body journeyed towards Macedonia, Ptolemy intercepted it halfway through the journey. With Alexander's body in his possession, Perdiccas felt he had a claim to legitimacy. For him, burying the king was more than a duty, it was a confirmation of his rightful place as regent. However, Ptolemy, who had always harbored animosity towards Perdiccas, saw an opportunity to win favor with the people of Egypt. Disregarding Perdiccas's authority, Ptolemy seized Alexander's coffin and transported it to Alexandria. This bold move undermined Perdiccas's position and sparked a showdown between the two rivals. Perdiccas, backed by the royal army, marched out to confront Ptolemy, intending to bring him to heel. But Ptolemy wasn't alone in his rebellion. The European holdings also rallied to his cause, presenting Perdiccas with a war on two fronts. Recognizing the need to deal with Ptolemy swiftly before turning his attention elsewhere, Perdiccas led his army towards Egypt. However, Perdiccas's plans were foiled when he encountered a river blocking his path into Egypt. Unable to cross, Perdiccas found himself trapped, his incompetence laid bare for all to see. In a swift and bloody turn of events, Perdiccas's own army revolted against him, resulting in his demise. With Perdiccas out of the picture, Ptolemy emerged victorious in the first war among the Macedonian generals. Yet, peace was short-lived as conflict erupted anew, this time between Antigonus and his son against the rest of the generals. In the midst of this chaos, Seleucus, governor of Babylon, sought refuge in Ptolemy's court, sparking a bitter war between Seleucus and the Antigonids. After a decisive victory, Ptolemy solidified his status as a powerful ruler, earning the title Ptolemy I Soter. However, peace remained elusive as the surviving generals vied for supremacy, ultimately setting their sights on Antigonus. In a pivotal battle at Rhodes, Ptolemy emerged as the island's savior, further cementing his reputation as a formidable leader. In the year 301 BC, the final clash between Antigonus and Ptolemy unfolded at the Battle of Iapsus. Ptolemy emerged victorious, securing his hold over Asia Minor. With his territories now safe, Ptolemy turned his attention to governing his expanding empire. He chose Alexandria, the city founded by Alexander himself, as the capital of his province. Positioned strategically at the heart of the Nile, Alexandria quickly became a bustling hub of trade, attracting Greeks from far and wide. Greek became the language of both government and trade, with Ptolemy himself never bothering to learn the languages of his Egyptian subjects. Despite this linguistic barrier, Ptolemy integrated himself into Egyptian society. He allowed the priests to rebuild temples destroyed by the Persians and established a cult honoring Alexander as a state god. This move elevated the former king to a divine status, with the highest priest in Egypt dedicated to his worship. Ptolemy also introduced a new religion centered around Serapis, the god of healing. This religion blended Greek and Egyptian beliefs, although it leaned more towards the Greek side. Despite his efforts, this new faith failed to gain widespread acceptance. Nevertheless, Ptolemy remained committed to transforming Egypt into a center of intellectual excellence. He was a man of great learning himself, with an insatiable thirst for knowledge. To this end, he constructed museums and erected a colossal library, which would become one of the most renowned institutions of the ancient world. Scholars from across the Hellenic world flocked to Alexandria to access the vast collection of books housed within its walls, making it a beacon of learning and scholarship. Ptolemy was so passionate about expanding his library that he confiscated books from ships arriving in Egypt. These books were copied and added to his ever-growing collection. Additionally, he embarked on the construction of a magnificent lighthouse known as the Lighthouse of Alexandria. This lighthouse was an impressive structure, standing 3 stories tall with a statue of Zeus at the top. Its beacon could be seen for miles around, providing a guiding light both day and night. Soon, the lighthouse became a marvel of the ancient world, attracting tourists from far and wide, much like the Statue of Liberty does in New York today. By the time of his passing in 282 BC, Ptolemy had firmly established Egypt as a dominant force in the region. Under his rule, Egypt flourished economically and culturally, reclaiming a position of prominence it had not held for centuries. Throughout the following centuries, Egypt's borders remained relatively stable, thanks to the groundwork laid by Ptolemy. Even when Egypt eventually fell under the rule of Rome, Ptolemy's legacy endured. Egypt became known as the breadbasket of the empire and retained its status as a vital intellectual center. Ptolemy's contributions to Egypt cannot be overstated. He revived the nation, blending Greek and Egyptian traditions to create a unified and prosperous empire. In doing so, he achieved something even Alexander the Great couldn't accomplish: the unification of a nation. Through his vision and leadership, Ptolemy created an empire that would endure long after his passing. If you learned something new in this video, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications so you know when our next video drops. Thanks for watching.